Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are on Love 99.5 FM affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Kekeli Radio in Ho, ATL FM in Cape Coast, Kaliawo FM in Akachi, and Radio Justice in Tamale. We are live on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook. We are on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. The Midday News is proudly sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. These are also brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Coming up, death toll in Northeast Regional Flats rises to 4, while residents in 66 communities are in dire need of aid following massive destruction of properties by the rains.
The West Maputo municipality, we have 2 of the deaths. The East Maputo, we have 1. Yiyo Nanson, 1.
We'll get to hear from the regional minister in NADMO, still working to reach inaccessible communities. This afternoon, we ask, how much does it cost to acquire a Ghanaian passport?
We will require to pay either 100 Ghana cedis or 150 Ghana cedis for a passport, a standard passport or expedited service.
But is that the reality on the ground?
One time a woman confronted me, I'm not coming for a passport. Give her 2,000, she'll get it for me. I left her and went away.
As the committee set up by the Foreign Affairs Ministry to investigate allegations of extortion against some staff at the passport office get to work, the minority is urging caution.
Now the online system is being manipulated. There's an investigation going on and some names have been mentioned.
If care is not taken, innocent people could be caught in the fray.
And much later, Mrs. Matilda Emisatha, 7 questions for chiefs in the Western region.
Some say that you have sold our lands. Some say that you are fronted for big men. And some even say that you have been given huge amounts of money.
And in the Ashanti region, kingmakers at Manso Asarikrom blame Pachi #1 chief for the surge in illegal mining activities there.
The Chinese are destroying our lands. They use mercury on the land, which we learn is poisonous. We need your help.
Danny, what do we have in sports?
A big blow for Ghana as some athletes and officials denied Hungarian visas ahead of the World Athletics Championships, which begin on Saturday.
And much later, Joy News gets results as little Stephanie, who lost full function of her left hand after her stepmother literally boiled her hands for taking her 2 Ghana cedis, secures full educational scholarship after a successful surgery.
She gets free feeding, she gets free transportation, she gets free school logistics, including her school uniforms.
This is Joy News, your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please do stay on for details. I am Emefa Apawu. Good afternoon and many thanks for your company. Now, lives claimed by the floods in the Northeast region have risen to 4 after torrential rains there over the weekend caused massive devastation. 2 adults and a child were discovered by NADMO yesterday, in addition to an earlier reported death. Meanwhile, residents in 66 communities are in dire need of aid after the rains destroyed their property, including houses and farmlands. Trading and other activities have also been disrupted in the region. NADMO coordinator Al-Hassan John Kweku gives us further details of the deaths and some relief items given to affected residents so far.
The West Maputo municipality, we have 2 of the deaths. The East Maputo, we have Yiyo Nanson, 1. So in all, the deaths is 4. Them is as a result of drowning. But one of them, who is a child, it was a room that collapsed on her and then died. Yes. The Director General listed some relief items to Wale, and then also promised that some were coming by road. The day before yesterday, we received some of the items. Yesterday, we received some other items too. So I'm yet to meet with the regional minister and other stakeholders for us to see how we can do to help these victims.
Thankfully, NADMO coordinator for the Northeast region, Al-Hassan John Kweku, joins us live. Thank you so much for your time here on the Midday News. So let's get updates on the number of deaths so far. At the last count, we're told 4. Has anything changed? Hello, Mr. Al-Hassan.
Hello.
Thank you. If you can hear me, I'm asking about the death toll. We earlier reported 4. So at the last count, I'm asking if anything has changed. Is the number still 4 or it's risen?
Once again, let me say good afternoon to yourself and your cherished listeners. As I indicated earlier, the death toll still remains the same 4. We haven't recorded any death again, apart from the 4 that we recorded.
We are thankful for that. But 66 communities affected, and they are in dire need of aid. Is the situation out of hand, or it's under control, you would say?
Well, the situation is not all that too good because of the nature of the routes and because some of the communities are not accessible by road now. We are just able to do 66 communities, but we are still on the ground doing the assessments.
Assessments being done from over the weekend up until now, but the communities and residents are asking for help. Will that help ever come?
Yes, the help has come. We are giving relief to those who are affected and they are displaced. And then we also help to evacuate people who are trapped in some of the flooded communities. And then people are safe. So we are on the ground and we are helping the situation.
Okay, and we know that the rains have not stopped just yet. What really should residents who are listening to you now start doing?
Well, as we have always engaged them, we have told them to be very cautious about their own lives. They should be on their alert and not to play with the floodwaters. And those of them who are living lowlands should move to higher grounds so that they will not be hurt when there's flood.
Okay, we're grateful. That's the NADMO coordinator for the Northeast Region, Alhassan John Kweku there. Well, the regional minister himself, Yidana Zakaria, says the team is working hard to reach inaccessible communities also to help, where help can be offered to affected residents.
But NADMO is doing a very good job. From the briefing that I've had, they are able to collect data from about 60 affected communities. But the Chilponi area, many of the communities that have been inundated with the flood are not accessible. They are not able to. That the MP for the Chilponi constituency, Honorable Tahiru Abdulrazak, and the DCE, Honorable Hadia Zuira Madanasiru, have made efforts to try to reach some of these areas, but it's just not possible. This morning, I was also to embark on a tour to the Chilponi area. But the signals I'm taking is that those areas we intend visiting for now are not accessible. We should just allow some time for the water to recede so that we can have access. So it's quite a very worrying situation.
Yidana Zakaria is the Northeast Regional Minister. Now let's turn our attention to the Passport Office is in focus as a disciplinary committee set up by the Foreign Ministry to investigate allegations of extortion leveled against some staff of the office get to work. An applicant for a Ghanaian passport is required to pay between 100 and 150 cedis for normal service and 250 cedis for expedited service, but delays and the cumbersome nature of the process has made many applicants vulnerable to extortionists. We can listen to the outgoing director of the Passport Office, Mohammed Habib Idris.
You will be required to pay either 100 Ghana cedis or 150 Ghana cedis for a passport, a standard passport or expedited service, or 150 and 200 for 48-page passport for standard passport processing and expedited service. So Ghanaians should know this. Let's have faith in the process. Let's not give ourselves for others to take advantage of us. You see, one of the problems that passport offices encounter is the longevity of officers assigned to the passport office. The longer a person stays there, there is a tendency for over-familiarity with outsiders. And that creates a situation where issues of corruption, malpractices could arise. That is precisely why the Minister of Foreign Affairs has a tenure limit for staff in the passport office. In fact, it is supposed to be 6 months.
Well, that's the outgoing director of the Passport Office, Mohammed Habib Idris. They're speaking on Hard Truth on the Joy News channel. But the reality on the ground, we know, is different. Anti-corruption campaigner Vitus Azim has not even been spared the ordeal at the Passport Office. He shares it.
I came one day to Accra Passport Office to change my passport that expired. When I entered, the lady, small girl, told me, "Oh, go and come back in the afternoon. We'll take your biometrics. We are busy." And I said, "Look, this is just a renewal. Why should I have to go and come back? In Accra, you don't drive around because of traffic." She said, "Well, they are busy." I left her, went up to one of the same director's office. He took my passport, gave me 2 days to come back and take the new passport. People can do the work. They don't want to do it because we've not put in place measures that will make them effective. So we need to set timelines for the staff. In a day, if you can process, you have to process a certain number of passports. If you're not able to do that, then you lose your job.
Well, we can also hear the views of legal practitioner Kweku Pencil, who says government must take steps to address the level of corruption associated with the delivery of public service by state institutions.
The frustration that the minister expressed with regard to obtaining a passport is the same to when you go to Register General. And so when your foreign investor who sits in America goes to World Bank doing business in Ghana, is able to see that this thing is supposed to run through 3 weeks and that is the total cost of it. When you go to the ground, it doesn't work. Go to land valuation. Please quote me on this thing. Go to land valuation. You want to stamp a simple document. You go, they will tell you that, listen, under normal circumstances, this thing will take 3 weeks. But if you are able to find a way and put weight on paper, we can get it for you 3 days. And if you don't do the 3-day deal, and you leave it for the 3 weeks, 3 months, you're not going to get it. So these things are locked up in all kinds of institutions and places where we are supposed to get things according to certain timelines. So what the minister said is just the tip of the iceberg.
An earlier report on Ghana by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime ranked the Passport Office 7th most corrupt institution. An outraged Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayokoboche blamed some staff for the anomaly.
This cannot continue. There's too much happening that really shouldn't be happening within the passport acquisition system. If we talk about Goro people, these Goro people are outsiders. They do not work on their own. Because if the Goro person collects somebody's money, they need to work with somebody from inside to change the dates. And this should stop. The blame is always on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Meanwhile, it's the agencies, and I'm sure even some of our staff are involved. Now the online system is being manipulated. There's an investigation going on, and some names have been mentioned. And there are people from outside, a cartel who are working with people from inside. Anybody who has been here for more than a year, from Monday, please do not come back because you've been changed. We want to bring some sanity. Every time politicians are corrupt. Meanwhile, it's some public civil servants who will do things that shouldn't be done, and then they put it on politicians.
Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayokoboche, well, ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, is urging caution.
There is a director at the Passport Office, a whole director. They did have to take their minister to descend from her ministry and to engage in that open outburst for the minister to then be dismissing people on site and all of that. It tells you that there is something fundamentally wrong. The leadership at the Passport Office falls short of the leadership requirements that you will expect to see for such a sensitive position. And the director of the Passport Office and all those in management must be answering questions. If care is not taken, innocent people could be caught in the fray. So I would still urge that it will be necessary for a disciplinary committee to still carry out some independent investigations into the role of those the minister met. Are we sure that all of them are involved in all of these underhand dealings, the bribery, the corruption, all the untoward conduct that the minister is angry about.
That's the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Don't forget to share your experiences in your acquisition of a Ghanaian passport with us, and good luck with that acquisition. Let's move away from passports and to some other stories, and effective immediately. The Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council has restricted the movement of tricycles, also known as Pragya and Aboboya, in the Central Business District of Accra, Tema, and other selected electoral areas. The resolution was arrived at after a meeting with the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council and MMDCs here in Accra. We can hear from the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Korte.
Have you been hardworking?
Yes.
With Abubuya still on the motorway? Can we say he's hardworking? Well, let's answer the questions. Is it hardworking? Chocho is still loading around Accra Mall. Is that working? Koliklote. Rubbish around Graphic Road. Hard working. Eme. Kimbu, Tudu, everywhere. Rubbish. Hard working. I want us to mark ourselves. Honorable Abana. Agbogbolshi has been turned into a refuse dump. Is it hard working? Are you aware? The place we cleared, that people are still dumping refuse there. They have stopped. Since when? I can't hear you. Last month. Do you know the dates we did this exercise at Agbogbolshi? 2 years. And it took you last month to stop them from dumping refuse. I'm not too excited about coming to read hard work. Yeah. Lejokuku Ladadekotopon. A shaman.
Well, that's the regional minister yesterday. Shortly, we'll touch base with them. We're told there's a statement also following that particular resolution yesterday. James, let's quickly go through what the statement says.
Yes, Emefa. So there's been restriction on the movement of Pragya in the following areas. We have Kro, Koleklote, Tema Metropolitan, La Dadekotopong, La Nkwantanang Madina, Ayawasu East, West, Central, North, as well as Lejokuku and Okaikwe North. Now, beyond these, if you remember that the minister earlier, 2 years ago, banned the use of Abuboya on the Temamotowe and Principal Street in the region. There's been a resolution on that as well to reinforce that ban as well.
Thank you very much, James. Thankfully, the Regional Minister, Henry Korte, joins us on the line. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So I see 3 resolutions from the meeting yesterday. We've been talking extensively about some of them, but let's focus on the movement or the restriction of the movement of Pragya and Abuboya in the Central Business District. When exactly does it take effect?
Good afternoon, my good Emefa, and a very good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers across the world, because of the 21st century, these days will be opportune to also channel news on the social media platforms. Well, thank you very much once again. I think that it was a meeting that was held yesterday. The acts governing the local governance system, the Regional Coordinating Council has more or less like a board. That is the highest decision-making body of the Regional Coordinating Council. We are supposed to meet at least once in a year. And so yesterday, by the grace of God, we met. And the purpose is to do an assessment of how far the Regional Coordinating Council as a whole, and for the benefit of listeners and viewers, may I respectfully provide this information, that the Regional Coordinating Council has a mandate of monitoring, evaluating, and for that matter, overseeing the implementation of government policies. And that includes heads of departments of all the sector ministries in the region. So yesterday we met. Now, as part of our assessments to see where we have come from as a region and where we are going, or rather where we are, and where we intend to go as a region, taking cognizance of government policies, it was agreed by consensus that we reinforce the earlier directive that was issued probably about a year or so ago on the, and I want to clarify this, it wasn't a ban. The official word was restriction. Restricting Aboboyas from plying the motorway. And also on some.
Of course, we all know that that particular ban was ineffective because we're still seeing them on the motorway.
Well, respectfully, ineffective will be a too strong a word to use. Because you see, hitherto, their presence on the motorway was heavy. You could say that probably one or two of them occasionally find their way through, but largely, let us also give commendations to the people who were tasked with a duty to ensure the implementation of these exercises. It has gone very well. I must be very honest with you. But yesterday, I gave an analogy. Every institution, every company has an objective. They have a mission, okay, and a vision to drive that particular institution or agency somewhere. It's just like the banking institutions. They tell us, the marketing officers are giving targets. It doesn't mean that they are not doing well. But for instance, Henry Quarter Bank or Emefa Bank will say, every marketing officer, your target is so and so millions of cedis this year, and you have to meet it. So what we did yesterday was to assess ourselves and see whether indeed, on the issue of let's make Greater Accra work, Operation Clean Your Frontage, other issues of indiscipline that the Let's Make a Greater Accra Work agenda seeks to check. Have we been able to meet our target that we set for ourselves? And of course, the people of this region have reposed a certain confidence in us to serve the community. Mr. President has a vision, and that vision, we have to work towards it to ensure that he succeeds.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to have. I'm sure we'll get to have an extensive interaction with you, Mr. Kote. But you have been unable to tell me when exactly this particular restriction takes effect. We're expecting a bylaw to be passed by the various assemblies. Do we know how soon that will be done, sir?
Sorry?
I'm asking about when the bylaws will be passed for the restriction on the Aboboyas in the Central Business District will happen.
For your information, as part of the Operation Clean Your Frontage bylaws, the bylaws restricting Aboboyas have been passed and gazetted already.
Okay.
Okay, so what we added to it yesterday was a quick bylaw to be passed to restrict the movement of what we call pragia specifically.
In the Central Business District. And when would that be done?
It's a motorized tricycle, we call it. Now, I have issued the directives, or when I say I, let me rephrase. The governing body of the Regional Coordinating Council, together, unanimously, by consensus, have agreed that the use of pragia in some selected assemblies and the CBD be restricted. And so to back it by law, so that we are able to get the law to deal with people through a court of competent jurisdiction.
Okay. We are grateful because of time constraints. We'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. That's the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quarter, there, taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News, sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Also brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. We return from the break with sports and hear the 7 questions for Chiefs in the Western region by Mrs. Matilda Misatha.
Some say that you have sold our lands. Some say that you are fronted for big men. And some even say that you have been given huge amounts of money.
when budgets are tight and money difficult to come by. You want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Thanks for staying with us. The dancing Danny Quanting has sports.
Emefa, Ghanaian athletes Safo Ansah and Rosie Eboa will not participate in the upcoming World Athletics Championships in Budapest after they were both denied visas by the Hungarian embassy in Accra. The newly elected Ghana Athletics president Bar Husseini was also denied a visa to lead the team to the same competition. Yeboah is the African champion in the women's high jump and just won gold at the World University Games in China with a new national record of 1.94 meters. Ansah was a late replacement for the injured Benjamin Azamati, and was expected to join Ghana's 4x100 relay team. Joy Sports Muftau Nabila Abdullah has more on the story.
Rose qualified about 2 weeks ago, and her application was denied by the Hungarian embassy on Monday. Another athlete who will not be representing the country at the competition is Safo Ansah. He has also been denied a visa. These two athletes were expected to join Team Ghana in Budapest for the competition, but due to these issues, they will not be representing the country. Also, it is not just the athletes who were denied visas by the Hungarian embassy. Officials of Ghana Athletics and some journalists were all denied visas to travel to the country for the event.
You had an update by Joy Sports Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Bringing an end to sports. Back to you, Emefa.
Thank you, Danny. Now, kingmakers of the Kona royal family of Manso Asare in the Ashanti region say they are unhappy with their chief for allowing a surge in illegal mining activities in the area. They accuse the chief of selling farmlands for galamsey. Sources of water for domestic and farming activities have been heavily polluted from these activities. There's more in this report by my colleague Nanabwachi Dankwayadom.
Vast farmlands at Manso Asari Krum, Antwa Krum, Kenyago, Banko, Pechi No. 1, and Ensiana are left with huge gullies, posing danger to farmers in the enclave, especially when it rains. Farmers have to walk cautiously in and out of their farms to stay safe from pits left uncovered by illegal mining activities at their farm gates. The Ghana Cocoa Board projects its annual cocoa output to rise to 1.6 million tons by 2026. But this is threatened by the activities of illegal miners. Mining equipment are visible at most sites visited at Pechi No. 1. Head of Ekwana clan, Nana Kwesi, blames the chief of Pechi No. 1 for the wanton destruction of farms, lands, and water bodies.
The
Chinese are destroying our.
Now, in the Western region, wife of late Vice President Pakwesi Emisatha has taken a swipe at the chiefs and leaders of the Western region for not doing much to stop activities of illegal mining. Matilda Emisatha has some questions for them.
Aulaimo, Nanano, where have you been? Where have you been when all the lands are being taken over by galamsey? Some say that you have sold our lands. Some say that you are fronted for big men in Accra, in Takoradi, in Ho, even in America, even in China. And some even say that you have been given huge amounts of money. I don't even see the huge amounts of monies on you.
Now, after extensive reportage by Joy News on the physical abuse of a 9-year-old girl at Gosu in the Ahafa region, she's assessed on full educational scholarship and care. We all know little Stephanie lost full function of her left hand after her stepmother literally boiled her hands in a rice cooker for taking her 2 Ghana cedis. Following a series of reports by Erastus on her condition, Mensin Gold Bibiani Limited funded a number of surgeries. Erastus Osaridonko has more.
Little Stephanie's stepmother allegedly
held her hands in boiling water for taking her 2 cedis to buy food. The incident was first reported in March last year. The girl's deteriorating hand was discovered weeks later at their Goso home in their Hafo region. After about 6 months in hospital and a series of surgeries funded by the Mensing Gold Bibiani Limited, doctors were able to retain the hand and partial use of it. The mining firm has further responded to the multimedia group's call for help for this child.
We have given her full scholarship into our basic school, which is the best school in Western North region and Bibiani, and one of the best in the country. She gets free feeding, she gets free transportation, she gets free school logistics.
Many thanks to the Bibiani Gold Company Limited, and always for your response to all our stories. Thank you so much for listening to the Midday News. You're on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otabil is up next. I am Emefa.